Mr.
Jay
Chairman.
Wen. I'll call the West Dakota Water Development District meeting today, July 9th, 2024 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is the roll call of members. Dan?
Okay, roll call for September, for
It's
July
coming.
9th, 2024. Cole?
Here.
Yorkie?
Here.
Driscoll?
Attending by phone.
McGregor?
Here.
Ackerman? Rowe?
Here.
Mack?
Here.
Fleming? Care?
Here.
Okay, we have 2 absent, Mr. Chair. We have a quorum.
Very good, thank you.
So just,
Okay,
that's good, thank you.
okay, thank you. Next item is the approval of today's agenda. Is there any additions, corrections we need to make on the agenda today? If not, somebody...
I'd move approval, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Scott to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Thomas?
If I could interrupt, I would like to request if we could move item 10 up to follow after item 6. Chris Dozark should be there with you today, and he has to travel back to here yet this evening after our meeting, so I'd give him a little more time before dark.
Well, I talked to Chris before the meeting, and he said it was okay to leave it where it's at.
Doesn't matter to me then.
Okay, cool. We'll just... Is there any discussion on the motion for approving the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, who was the second on that, Mr. Chair?
Thomas?
Mack?
Yep. All right. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes from the May 14th meeting. Is there any issues with the minutes of that meeting? If not, entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Ron. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Cheryl. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5 is conflict of interest disclosure. Is there any items on today's agenda that there would be a conflict from any board member? If so, say so now. Seeing none, we'll move on to the treasurer's report, number 6.
Grab a pack and stand near a microphone.
Okay? We're going to stand by this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have received $140,746 in the tax levy. And the projected tax levy for 2024, actually 2023 paid in 2024 will be $242,443. Our total funds, which include savings, checking at Black Hills Community Bank, and then 4 CDs from Raymond James, and then there's a Raymond James cash account too. Total $825,399. Non-project expenditures, which would be director pay, rent, phone, my pay, things like that. $23,916, and total project expenditures are $30,111. So the total expenditures year-to-date, $54,028. We have $225,987 remaining in the budget. So if there are no questions there, I'll move on to the projects.
Any questions for Dan? Seeing none, moving ahead.
It's hard to read this, so hopefully you got your packet. But the projects spreadsheet, the table there just shows all the projects that have been approved by the board, how much we've paid into them, and then the balance remaining in the right-hand column. So the takeaway there is that very bottom right-hand number there, $311,066 are what we are obligated for right now. And there's a Gantt chart of the project scheduling. I won't go into any details there. Around budget time, I usually do a chart like this. So this shows you, that chart just shows the money dispersed per year, the total budget for that year, the start of year funds, and then the committed funds at the beginning of that year. And it's kind of approximate because I go by the meetings, the dates of the meetings, which don't necessarily coincide with the first of the year. So if there are no questions, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Moved by Ron, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All the same sign, motion carried. Okay, the next item is the Medicine Mountain Scout Ranch Water Supply Project. They're requesting an additional grant request for, the project has been completed, but they're asking for some additional grant money to assist with the cost of the project for $12,628.69. Originally, they came, before they started this project, they came to Dakota Water Development District with a request for $25,000 for approximately a $70,000 project, estimated at that time. At our board meeting, our board here made a motion to approve $20,000 for that project at that time. So they're back right now, asking for an additional $12,628.69. And I'm going to make a motion. My motion is going to be based on their original request for $25,000. So my motion is that we would grant them an additional $5,000 for their project. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a substitute motion that we grant their request for, what is it, $12,628.
Yeah, $12,628.69. Okay. Is there a second to Scott's motion to grant $12,628.69? Is there a second to the motion? Seeing none, the motion dies for lack of second. So going to my motion of $5,000, is there any discussion on that motion?
Call the question.
Call the question, so we vote on the question, right?
Right, yep.
All in favor of the,
Mr. Chair, it takes a second.
it takes a second, okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded
Just for,
for calling the question?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a discussion on this motion? There is no discussion, right?
It's a non-debatable motion.
I see, okay. All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Pull the same sign?
No.
Now we vote on your 5,000.
There was one no. Dan Driscoll
Okay.
was no. So now we're voting on a grant of $5,000 to Medicine Mountain Scout Ranch. All in favor of that motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign.
Nope.
1 no, Ron. Motion carries. Thank you.
May I give an update on Medicine Mountain?
Sure.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Bob Morgan, I'm the Vice President of Operations for Medicine Mountain Scout Ranch. And just want to give you an update. The system is all up and operating. Before we had the system, it took 5 to 6 days to fill the tank. It now takes about 15 hours. And it's got high quality water, plenty of quantity. We're right now at the peak time of the whole season. Just one thing to add to the original request we had. What helped with this entire volume for this was when we were doing construction, we found out prior, we didn't know about it, but the well had to be replaced. And so that's what, that added another $4,600, and we were about $7,000 short of the original budget that we went in with. So that's where that $12,000 comes in. So if we would have been on the, didn't have to replace the pump, the $5,000 would have been just right there. But that's where the additional request for the $12,000 was, because we had to do the pump replacement.
Sure.
But
So this 5,000 that we gave should help a little bit on that cost.
yeah, we'll still be $7,000 short of being able to pay for the full operation of it, but, or full cost, construction cost. But we had all the engineering was donated, and we had about over half of the overall cost donated type work through donations or work in kind and stuff. So
Well, congratulations on having a
Yes.
successful project for your,
I appreciate your help on funding this. It wouldn't have happened without it, and it's really a good system up there right now. So.
Good.
And I think you
Thanks.
saw the presentation from the previous
Yes,
time
yeah.
before. So.
and thanks for coming again, and
Thank you.
Okay.
good luck with your summer program.
Yep. Thank you much.
All right, that moves us to item number 8, the first vote on the bars, Deerfield Pactola study partially funded by Bureau of Reclamation. And Ron, can you handle this?
Okay, so I direct your attention to page 15 in our current packet in terms of the contract that we're going to be voting on today. I'll give you just a thumbnail background on it. We were successful in getting a $349,000 grant from the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart program to do additional work on studying the hydrology and the water routing of the Pactola Deerfield system in an effort to accomplish some environmental goals, primarily directed at the streams of Castle Creek and Deerfield and Rapid Creek as they run from Deerfield to Pactola and then downstream of Pactola, as well as trying to examine whether or not we can reduce the amount of spill that currently takes place on an average annual basis, and to allow that water to be used for other purposes such as municipal uses, and to also examine the way the water is managed in particularly Pactola Reservoir. That's the one that's most dramatic, but probably Deerfield as well, is to look at what happens when we can to how we can moderate some of these flood pulses, so that when we have a big rainstorm and the reservoir is pretty much full like it is right now, the Bureau is required to release high volumes of water once the water gets into the flood pool, which is creates a considerable amount of potential and actual downstream erosion and flooding when you get out into the valley. The erosion takes place all the way downstream from the Pactola release point all the way through town, and then again out into the valley. So that's what the study is for. The Bureau of Reclamation grant was kind of a big deal. It was competitive in the western regions of the Bureau's region of service. It's for $349,000. And we were able to document the environmental benefits to the point that they provided a 75% cost share match on that. So in addition to the Bureau's 75% cost share, we also have non-governmental contributors to the tune of South Dakota Game Fish and Parks has already paid $25,000 toward the project. Dakota Trout, which is a chapter of the national organization Trout Unlimited, has committed $3,500. I don't believe we received that yet, but we told them we didn't need the money until about September. And the Black Hills Fly Fishers, which is a local organization here, has committed $5,000. So we rolled up about $33,500 in local contributions to help us with this project, in addition to the 75% match from the Bureau of Reclamation. The bottom line on what the water district will end up paying is going to be in the vicinity of $50,000. At one time, we were attempting to get $16,000 from the city of Rapid City as an in-kind match. After we started looking at that a little bit harder, and the bookkeeping involved with it, and the potential for a failure, and the availability of funds on our side of the ledger, we decided to go ahead and add the $16,000 to what we would have been on the hook for, basically, of $30-some thousand. So now we're going to be paying about $50,000. The bar contract is for the contractual work, which is a $250,000 contract. So this would be the first vote on the bar contract, and the second vote would come next month, in August. We're pretty well signed up with the Bureau in terms of all of the requirements to become part of their grant system, all the financial stuff, and so I think we've already received some, I guess you call them pings or tests from the Bureau to our local bank, the community bank, so that we're ready to receive funds when the time comes and we actually start work. And so my motion will be to approve the first vote on the bar engineering contract for $250,000 for the soon-to-be initiated Deerfield Pactola modeling study.
Right, I think that motion should say not to exceed $250,000 as he's got it shown in his proposal.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Is that
Sorry
okay?
about that.
Is that okay?
I didn't read that.
Okay. So is there a second to the motion?
Can I get that motion again, please?
Go ahead.
This would be to approve $250,000 for the contract between Bar Engineering and the West Dakota Water Development District for the Deerfield Pactola, or the Pactola Deerfield modeling study, which is, I'm not going to go any further into it. That's good enough for a motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
Well, wait a minute, isn't it approved up to 250?
Not to exceed.
Okay,
Yeah.
up to.
Approved not to exceed $250,000 as identified in their proposal.
And the rationale for the amount is that even though we're going to be receiving funds to offset a lot of this cost, we're going to have to still run that money through our budget.
Yeah. Yeah, they're working for us. West Dakota.
Could I get that wording at the end real quick for the Deerfield Pactola release study? Or-
Modeling study.
Okay.
Or I could give you another paragraph.
So, in other words, we'll have how much money into it and how much money potentially to get out of it.
Well,
The full study right now, the way that it's scoped, including the $100,000 that the local Bureau of Reclamation has said they need, is $349,000. West Dakota will have $50,000 hard dollars in this project.
And it has the potential of just making the 348 or more money.
That's total. That's the
$348.
That's the
That's the
total
whole
project
study.
budget.
That's the whole budget.
Yeah,
$349,000 is the entire budget that includes the $250,000 study for Bar and their subcontractor to do the specialty modeling, and the $100,000 for the local Bureau of Reclamation for coordination.
Okay.
Well, how much was the grant we actually
Yeah, the
received?
grant. The
$349.
$249?
$349.
349. Okay.
But it's 75% match.
You wonder what
Okay.
the Bureau spent?
75% match.
Yes.
The federal government.
The federal government.
The federal government's supplying 75%.
We're up for 25% of that.
Yeah,
Of that.
okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what,
The
that's what I
local
wanted to
match
clarify.
was-
Yep.
Yeah, it's a 75% match
So
on the Fed
basically, the
side.
project budget is 349 plus 25%.
No,
No,
No.
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 The
That's
full
Project's
project budget
340
is
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
340.
Ron.
The full project budget is, let's just say $350,000.
Okay.
That is being matched 75% by the feds. We're obligated for 25% of the $350,000.
so their amount that we're gonna get from a grant is like
269, 270, something like that.
So the
$260,000
the grant isn't really 349.
No.
Hard money.
That's the total
It's
project.
not hard money. It's 75% of 349.
Yeah, and then
Correct.
we kick in 25%.
Correct.
Yep,
Okay.
And our actual portion of that 25% in hard dollars will be about $50,000.
When you add in the contributions from game and fish and
And
Correct.
the other ones.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to
It's the
clarify.
$33,000 and change from the other organizations.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
everybody clear on that now?
Yeah,
Sorry
We
if I
need-
didn't
We
do
need
that.
somebody to second the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Cheryl. Okay, now, discussion on the motion. Seeing
I
none?
guess I'd like to ask just for a clarification,
Oh, go ahead.
have we actually approved the funding for this earlier, and at this point in time, we are simply voting to implement the contract with BAR? Is that kind of how it works?
Not exactly.
No.
We approved spending up to $100,000 some time ago as we were applying for the grant.
Correct.
And that assumed we might be, we didn't have a full handle on how we would get contributions, et cetera, whether we get the grant or whatever. So that's what we applied for. At this point in time, we know exactly what we have in front of us in terms of costs. And so we need to have, the actual real costs into, our budget in terms of money that we can spend.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it sounds about like what I tried to say, but I'm cozy with it.
Okay.
Well,
Any other questions on the motion, Dan?
So following up,
Not for me.
Okay, thank you,
too
Dan.
many Dans.
Wrong Dan, yeah.
Following up on Director Driscoll, then, that's already a project that that 100,000 we've already appropriated money for or allocated money for. Do we delete that?
Or add,
just add the money to it.
just add to.
That was just application costs.
Yeah, I don't think we need to delete that.
But when we
That,
do-
that part is just gone now.
but when we do budgets and things, that number's being carried through.
No, it should be over with now because we submitted the application, incurred those costs, and we're successful. So our budget now is for 50,000 plus the pass-through on the federal money.
But what we're talking about here is that Bar Engineering is working for
I'm
us.
trying to figure out how to get rid of that project, that $100,000 project.
It's over, it's just
We can
closing.
amend, we can amend it, we can do a lot of different things. I don't know if we need to decide that
I don't think we
today.
need to do that on
I
this.
just want to
Not
make
today.
it clear that's
Okay.
showing
It's
up.
still
on-
It is
there.
showing up, correct.
Not today.
I don't think we need to deal with that right now on this
Yeah,
motion.
okay, sorry.
So let me ask this then, we approved $100,000 for this project. We've already spent, I don't know, $11,000, almost $12,000 of it in application costs and follow-up costs.
No,
No,
No.
that.
those were separate
They were
contracts.
separate contracts.
Okay.
We haven't spent any of the 100
Yeah,
grand.
that's still there.
We're starting new with this
That's
349.
correct.
So the 100,000 is,
We at our last meeting approved, was a $7,500 for Bar to get us,
To manage us through,
to
yeah, we
manage
spent
us
about
through
half of that.
this process with getting this grant with the Bureau of Reclamation. So that was a separate motion at our last meeting.
Yep.
So, is there any more questions on the motion? that's
Yeah,
on the
Mr. Chairman,
floor?
I've got a problem on page 17
Okay.
with the next to the last paragraph. We had absolutely no ability to waive our insurer's subrogation rights. Those are rights that belong to the insurer, not to us. We can't waive them.
I guess I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, we
Okay.
can't. You know, it says bar and client waive all rights, including their insurer's subrogation rights. those are rights, subrogation rights that belong to our insurers. We have no ability to waive those.
These is the same language that we've had in all of our bar contracts. We could have possibly looked at that earlier.
And I should have maybe caught it earlier, but Bart should be smart enough to know that. Their attorney's on it. You've got no ability to waive a third party's rights.
Well, how do we handle that on this motion then?
I don't have a clue.
We're moving forward on this project.
No, you can go ahead and approve it. I'm going to abstain on this vote anyway. so.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I have to record reflect I'll abstain.
Okay, with one abstention. Right.
I doubt that'll ever come up, but if it does, I'm pretty sure that the insurance companies would weigh in on it.
Okay.
And we might be facing a lawsuit over it. It's a slim possibility, but it is a legal possibility.
Okay, motion carried.
I'm wondering, Mr. Chairman, have we ever actually made a motion to authorize our $50,000 match on this thing?
We did earlier on, we that first $100,000 was potentially gonna be our 50% match.
Was it? Okay.
So we've got, I think, that covered in the past
So you think
actions.
we're okay on that?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I was
It
asking
is
earlier.
it is a little confusing.
We had $100,000 we put in the project, and we spent 12 of that, and now we've got another 50. It's all part of the 100 in my mind.
No, so far you're
Okay.
not tracking exactly the way we've spent the money.
Okay.
We've had two separate contracts to spend approximately $11,000, unassociated with the $100,000.
So the 100,000 then covers this 50 we're about to spend.
And we could have,
I think what we ought to do, if we got the $250,000 that we approved here for bar.
Yeah.
We've got one of our donors that has given us $25,000 of Game Fish and Parks. We're expecting payment from two other organizations, which Ron's covered. We don't have that money yet. What I would suggest we do at on our August meeting, we should probably just make a motion at that meeting, knowing what the dollars are. Unless you think we can do it tonight.
well, I guess all we have to do is we have to ramp up our request for those donors to provide the money, because we did send a letter out to them and said, don't need to pay us until September. But we can change that, I guess, if that's
Yeah.
important.
My understanding, Craig, is that we approved that $100,000 just to show to BOR in the process of the grant application that we were going to provide the match.
That's
That we
correct.
had the funds for
That's
the
correct.
match. That's my understanding of what we did with that.
And that was kind of an estimate at that time, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that $100,000 is now being cut down to about 50 because we've secured contributions
Right.
from other sources.
I guess if we know exactly what
That's
those are,
correct.
we could make a motion tonight.
But we have to have authority to spend all this money coming in to us from the
Right.
feds and others, to pay our contractor.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we can do it at the next meeting.
Okay, we'll do it at the next meeting.
Since Bar doesn't need it all right now,
That way we
we've
have
got the
have all the
$250, then we
dollars
can
in
clean it up.
place. Yeah, let's
Next
do
time
that.
around.
Sounds good.
We can ramp up our request for the donors to write a check.
Yeah, okay, sounds good, thanks. Okay, item number 9 is the office lease renewal. Yeah, well, I guess your name's on that.
I think it's just a renewal of the office space we have at the garage for another year. I don't think there's a change in the rent. It remains the same as it was this past calendar year, $500 a month.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we approve the renewal of the lease for a year.
All right, seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And who's the second?
I did.
Craig. We're getting ahead of you, Dan?
Oh, a little bit. Hot day and slow now.
Are you caught up now, or? Okay, item number 10 is to approve up to $200,000 in funding by West Dakota over a 3 to 4 year time frame for an EPA Section 19 Watershed Improvement Project in partnership with South Dakota Department of Ag and Natural Resources. This funding would be contingent upon approval of a complete application package at a future West Dakota meeting prior to submittal for funding consideration through the South Dakota Department of Ag and Natural Resources. Dan, do you want to handle this?
Yeah, my name is on it. Just a little bit more background on it. We really covered a fair amount of the background earlier as this is developed, and I had sent an email with a few more details. I guess I neglected to kind of weave it into the informational item that goes with it. But if conceptually we were looking at a total project of $1 million, the EPA matching requirements are basically 40% non-federal dollars to go with the 60% EPA dollars. So out of, conceptually $1 million project, you'd be requesting $600,000 from EPA. So the 40% match would be $400,000. So under this scenario, we would be committing to up to $200,000 of that non-federal match, and we would be looking for another $200,000 from other partners. And so, like I said, I put that in an email that I sent out. See, the date was June 29, and maybe I should have included that here. I apologize that I didn't. But I guess with that as background, I'll make the motion worded exactly as the agenda item there, that we would approve up to $200,000 in funding, which would be over a multi-year time frame. And again, it'd have to be contingent on having the full application to review before we would finalize it at our next meeting.
Okay, the motion's been made. Did you get all that, Dan?
Yeah, I have it all ready to go.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Look, it's straight.
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Now, is there discussion
So
on the motion?
I guess from there, why don't I continue on since we've got a second, just another minute, that basically some wheels have been turning. I have been working with Chris Dozark with DANR, and he has been working to put together what's called a project implementation plan, and he's very close to having a draft on it, I believe. But why don't I turn it over to Chris to give us a little update on where things are at before we start our discussion. Would that be okay?
Yeah, you bet. Chris, you have the floor.
Yep, so Chris Dozark, South Dakota DANR. I'm our 319 9-point course coordinator for the state. Excuse me. I kind of sent around just kind of a outline of what the PIP entails. Right now, kind of the meat of it is kind of the objectives, tasks, and products for every kind of PIP that we get. So I just kind of threw in 3 objectives here, and I'm about halfway through those. The rest of there's a lot of fluff in there, water body information and that type of stuff. Like Dan said, generally it's 60-40 for match, 60% EPA, 40% local non-federal match. There are some, thinking about, what you guys are doing on Pactola and that type of stuff. There might be a good opportunity for us to match some stuff with state dollars under the RBI project. I got to think about that now. That might be ARPA funds. But yeah, like we said, me and Dan have been working quite a bit. I got pulled off of this and had to go to Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago, so I kind of had to throw this to the side, but now it's kind of on the front burner again. And hopefully I can get this kind of a preliminary PIP to you guys here in the next couple of weeks, and then you guys can tweak things and do exactly what you guys want. But I guess at this point I'll entertain any questions you guys have on process.
I have a question. What is the time? What time frame do we have to use?
So October 1st is when the applications are due.
Okay.
And So generally how it works is we'll do an application on October 1st. We have an internal DANR review of applications sometime in November. Usually the first week of December sometime we'll have a non-point source task force meeting, which is kind of an ad hoc committee that goes over projects that are coming in. It's kind of our first check and balance. And then after that, it goes to the Board of Water and Natural Resources, and then they're kind of the final state entity that approves our recommendations for funding. And then that would go to EPA. I write an application for the grant. Last year we just got our award for fiscal year 2024 for about $2.6 million. So looking forward, this money would be available June, July of 2025.
Okay,
So
okay. Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I do. It's not directly related to the motion, but it is related to this attachment that Chris has provided. I guess I've had some discussions with Director Driscoll on this in recent weeks, but under that objective erosion control, I'd like to see another one in this first segment, and for lack of better terminology, I'd just like to say engineered design for Pactola Basin. We have ongoing and active erosion up there in the basin on probably the first 3,000 lineal feet of the stream bed. There's been some attempts to do it in the past, and they failed miserably. It also is a very strong likelihood that on that non-federal side for a project up in that area, we would have significant contributions from the NGOs that are interested in the recreational fishing up there.
sure.
So I can work with you more on the details of that. We have some conceptual designs, some costs, etc.
Cool.
So I've got all that.
Okay.
So I'd like to see it in this segment one as we initially prepare it as possible.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of an aside, not a direct related to the motion.
I will say that I think there's going to be 4 or 5 projects that come in this year. And the good thing with 319 is we get money every year. So if this gets cut back, if your application gets cut back this year, you can put in again next year. You can put in again the year after that. So it's the nice thing with 319 is it's not kind of a one-time thing. So, you know, let's say for example that these 4 or 5 that come in mop up a lot of money, and then we have to cut out like the engineering design for Highway 79. Okay, we can put that in again next year. So we'll just put it all in right now and see what happens, and when it comes October, November, December, that works.
Fair enough. Any other questions for Chris? Any questions on discussion on the motion on the table?
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is we are essentially obligating this money for match for this grant project, much like we did with the $100,000 for the bar
That's correct.
application.
Yeah, that's correct. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Chris, for coming. Appreciate you coming.
Yep, thank you guys.
Okay, moving on to item number 11. We need to renew our South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance insurance. You see your names on there, Scott.
Yeah, as you guys recall, I had expressed some concern the last couple of years over this because this is not actually insurance that we are purchasing, but assurance. The difference being that in an assurance program, conceivably everybody that's involved in the program carries a share of liability. We met with a representative of the company, and this is a public company organized by statute. And I got my concerns on that satisfied, especially given the limited nature of what we do. But if you take a look on page 21 and then the handout that Dan had, which corrects that, on page 21 over in the right-hand column, the fifth number down, $71.47, that is being deleted. we're not paying that. That was a fee we found out we were paying to an agency that they were running this through, but we no longer need to do that. We'll just contract directly with South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, and so we can save that fee. And so on the handout that you see here that Dan had, that $71.47 is no longer there.
I see it now.
Yeah, that's just deleted out, which brings our total down to $1785.39. Because this is essentially a cooperative type of arrangement, we actually end up getting a credit in the account for $110.11 by virtue of being a member of this scheme, which brings the premium down a little more on that, which is what that $110 accounts for. We also found out that we were entitled, and Dan, I don't know if this got done, for that extra $100,000 coverage for the borrowing and rental of vehicles. Remember that?
Yeah.
That we were told we could get coverage for that without an increase, in the premium. So I guess we should check back and see if that's actually got put into our policy on that. But that was supposed to be. They had agreed to do that without an increase in premium.
Yeah, that was my understanding too.
So that should cover Driscoll if he wrecks a Bobcat on one of these erosion projects. It won't help him out personally, but it will make sure that we're covered for the equipment damage.
It didn't help out in my
I know.
crash of my side-by-side.
I know. So, with that explanation, Mr. Chair, I would move approval of this assurance premium for the coming year.
In the amount of $1,785.39.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Thomas. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
was it the amount, did you want the amount in the motion?
Yes.
Okay,
Move the approval of payment of $1789, $85.39 to South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance for liability and property pool coverage for the coming year.
Very good. All right, item number 12. Select Director Mack to be added to the Black Hills Community Bank signature card. John?
Dan,
Okay.
8539.
Oh, you're still back on that one? Okay.
did I get it wrong?
1785
Oh,
39 cents.
Okay.
1785.39.
Okay. So, Ron, you want to handle
Okay.
this one?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We're just having a record of it here at our meeting because I guess the bank wants to see that in the minutes. But since Linda left, we've only had 2 signatories on our bank cards, that being me and Administrator Malali. And we've always had 3 in the past, and so we're just adding Thomas Mack as an authorized signatory on our accounts plural at the community bank. So I would move to approve Thomas Mack as an additional signatory at the community bank.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Scott. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Who's Thomas Mack?
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you. It will be an honor with my vice chairmanship.
Just racking those letters up behind that.
We're just so glad you're young.
Yeah, we are glad he's young.
$5 will get you a cup of coffee.
Okay, moving along to item number 13, discuss and approve notice requirements for director vacancies in area 5 and 8. In your packet, I guess Dan put this together here. We do have 2 vacancies. Robert Ackerman in Area 5. His term was supposed to expire on 12/31/26. And Dennis Fleming from Area 8, whose term was to expire at the end of this year, in December 31st of 2024. They both have moved out of their areas, so we have a vacancy in both of those areas to fill. We'll say on Area 8, which Dennis said was not going to, he didn't re-up, so there is a candidate that won't even be on the ballot. Is that right, Dan?
Correct, so that's kind of a useless notification, depending on when we would do it, but let's say we put out the notification and then somebody came to the October meeting and wanted to have that position, they would lose that the next year anyway.
Okay.
Unless the same person, I forgot his name, was it Young?
I think it was Young.
Yep.
Unless
Bill
he
Young? He's
applied.
on,
No,
he's doing
he's
mine.
No, his name was, I
Oh,
Yeah,
forget what his name was.
he's in my district.
But there was
He's
no-
running.
There was no opposition to this yet.
Yeah, he'll get
individual.
all
Let me introduce myself. I'm Mark Klein. I was the candidate.
You're the guy.
Oh,
very good. Hey, welcome to the meeting.
Yeah,
Did you
sorry,
sign?
I was-
Did you sign in?
I didn't, so I didn't know the process. I didn't want to interrupt the discussion, so.
Well, you had a flavor for what we do here then.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I was supposed to be voting or not yet.
Not yet.
100% today, so.
Not quite yet, but we'll have to. So are you interested in getting on board right away then?
Yeah, there's just too many Dans. I think I emailed Dan Driscoll and of course Dan Berkey. And I don't know how many Dans
Dan,
there are.
yeah, 'cause we're
Dan,
Dan
well,
heavy.
3.
Well, we have to advertise this as shown in the packet. Did you get a packet, by the way, or?
I picked one.
Okay, good. So anyway, there's a clause in here of how we go about filling a vacancy for a director's
They did
position.
fill out the petition for the election.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But if you want to start early, then we could go through
I
that
see what you're
process.
saying. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
he'd have to fill out another petition,
Yes, and then we would,
unfortunately.
we as a,
Stupid law.
we as a board then would, Dan would check to make sure the signatures are within that area. And then the board here would, he'd come in front of the board and we would vote on filling that vacancy then. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So anyway, again, welcome to our meeting. Glad you came.
Sorry I was late.
If you want to do another petition, we can add you to the board probably at an October meeting, otherwise you have to wait till January.
I can wait.
I would if I were you.
My last petition, I made the mistake of using the original two-sided papers instead.
Oh.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
so I've already seen people twice.
So your choice is just to wait to the end of the year and at the January meeting then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad enough the first time.
Yeah.
So, do we need a motion on this, or how do we handle this?
And which one, which area?
He's in 8,
Eight?
Dennis Fleming's area, 8.
Okay, okay.
So did I pass out a sample?
Yeah, the sample.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get one of those.
I guess I would like some direction.
We've apparently done this before.
Oh, yeah. That's how I got on the board.
So we
and
had to
Clive's
do
been
that.
done it like
Yeah,
couple
it's been done several times.
Okay, so I guess what I would like is just to get some direction on, should I advertise this as I wrote it here, filling in the appropriate dates and things, and what will those dates be? I thought we would just advertise both of those positions as being vacant.
because
I don't think we should even bother with Area 8.
I don't either.
I just advertised for
Because
Area 5.
if we get somebody to come in here, they're gonna, what do you, as a board, what are we gonna do with number 8? 'Cause
Well, if we get somebody that comes in, we're going to say, yeah, okay, we'll accept your petition. You can sit for 2 meetings and then you're out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just
Well, I'm
assume.
not claiming the process makes sense.
No, it doesn't, but that's why I'm saying we should just go ahead and advertise Area 5.
I would agree
Not
with that.
Area 8, just leave that open through the end of the year.
Doesn't state law say we have
Have
to
to?
declare a vacancy?
No, it says we get to declare the vacancy. We just don't declare the vacancy for Area 8. We just declare a vacancy in Area 5 and advertise it.
Well, I'm fine. I guess I'm always playing things safe.
I don't know.
No. I'm not sure how to handle it either.
Yeah.
You know,
I just thought it's kind of a free thing to throw in here, but on the other hand, it does confuse things because.
Well, it confuses things and unnecessarily puts a burden on a member of the public that might want to
yeah.
actually do it.
Well, I did put the dates in here, so
Yeah.
hopefully they would read it, but I'm fine either way.
What's the rest of the board think?
I would just do the 5. If he's
What do you think, Doc?
willing to.
Well, I don't know the legalities of the wording, but if we were to declare a vacancy in Director 8, I think we should put in the information about the term of that director.
Oh,
It is in here.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's lots.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that.
I would say to put both of them out because it's both notified when the term expires, and if somebody really wants to put in for 1 or 2 meetings, let them do it. If they don't, it's a judgment call. Then we're out in the open with it, and nobody fills it. You know, by October we can just figure out if nobody fills 8 by October. We can look at it and look at the legality for shutting that vacancy open, because December comes around, we'd approve them, and then they would be there for like half an hour, and then they would be gone. And so, but I think, like, in all fairness, and like for people not to concern that we are trying to do something underhanded or shady, it might be good just to post it with the information and see where the chips lie.
yeah.
I agree with Scott. Like, Scott brings up an excellent point, but I also.
So the date then that we would consider these petitions would be, are we thinking October then? Is that enough time?
That's what I was thinking,
October, so we'd put with the date of the October meeting in there, right?
yeah.
Anybody have a heartburn about doing that?
I'm comfortable with what's being suggested. I would be reluctant to pick and choose, advertise one vacancy and not the other. We kind of looked at what were the legal requirements, wondering if we could, simply appoint Mark Klein to Fleming's position because he's already been elected, and, there's really no basis for doing that. So I think the best thing is to follow the process and just advertise both of them and, declare them vacant, and as has been stated, make sure that the dates of the terms are apparent so that people will be aware of that.
Yeah, I think just based on the discussion, I tend to agree with that we ought to advertise for both of them. Yeah,
I would move to that effect.
I don't think, do we need a motion on that, Dan?
I don't think so.
I think we need a motion to declare the seats vacant.
Declare the vacancies, yes.
Can I do
Who's Dan?
That's your form, should I take it?
that? I can remedy that.
All right,
So there's
still there,
not-
Dan?
I am, yes.
Okay. So, does somebody want to make a motion to declare the vacancies in Area 5 and Area 8 as shown on our, in the packet here?
I had attempted to move that, but,
Oh, go ahead.
well, I already did, so I'll do it again. I'll move to declare vacancies for areas 5 and 8 and request petitions will be submitted, that have been submitted will be reviewed at our October meeting, selection meeting.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? No, go ahead, Dan.
So Well, no, let's do the motion. I do have some.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, the motion carried. Now what did you got, Dan?
Well, let me back up. Who seconded that?
Craig did.
Okay, I didn't get the exact wording. Mr. Driscoll, could you repeat that?
Could you repeat that motion, Dan? Verbatim?
Declare areas 5 and 8 vacant with petitions that may be submitted would be reviewed at our October meeting. And a selection would be made. Maybe we can shorten it. A selection would be made of candidates would be made at our October meeting. I can work with you on final wording later, Dan, if you want.
Okay, sounds,
So then, it's pretty easy to post this up on our website, so I could do that right away.
okay.
Sure.
And usually, I think in the past, we've advertised in the newspaper too. So I'll go ahead and do that unless somebody thinks we don't have to.
I'd go ahead and advertise it.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Item number 14 is to approve the draft 2025 budget, which will then be, tonight, which then will be voted on at our August meeting. Do you want to have this?
I don't care.
Okay,
I can start, and then Dan can correct me if I've messed up.
okay.
Get something like that.
So there's two sheets in our packet that deal with that. One of them is on page 24, and one of them is on landscape version on page 25. And so the landscape version on page 25 kind of informs, our expenditure side of things. And on page 24, it informs our income side of things. So as it is every year, we have property tax estimate for 2025. We have our income from our CDs interest. And then we have, so the 2025 tax increment is in the second yellow highlight, kind of middle of the page, 264,775. We have the interest that we will be accruing from CDs. And then we have an estimate of $87,500 that will be coming in 2025 for the BOR grant. And so that all kind of rolls up along with our carryover funds. And then our budget numbers over on the next page. The only thing that really I think might be different than what we've ever seen in the past before is an estimate on the second blue line up from the bottom in the blue category of projects, where it says 116.66 and 67 cents. Very accurate estimate on the part of Dan Mullally. That's an estimate on the disbursement we'll be making in total during 2025 for that Bureau of Reclamation modeling project, based on what we think will be accomplished by BAR and their contractor and what we have to pay the Bureau of Reclamation during that time period. So it is definitely one of those estimates. And then above that, I guess just for note, is the estimate of money we might spend in hard dollars if we're successful in getting availability of funds through the 319 project. And I think Mr. Dozark said they might be available in April or so of 2025. So we might spend some money on that project. Yeah. Then we're carrying over, again, $125,000 from Green Valley. I don't know how long we carry that before we ask them to come back in and tell us, but so far we're carrying it in our budget. And then we have other expenditures in there. that we typically have been putting out on an annual basis, such as the USGS gauges for cost share on a couple gauges. What's become a fairly regular deal, at least in the last number of years, is the Game and Fish request to help with the aquatic invasive monitoring in the Pennington County area. And then we're still carrying $30,000 as an estimated payment that might be made as part of the cooperative project we have going on with the Pennington County Conservation District for bank erosion control on Lower Rapid Creek. And that project is an NRCS effort where willing landowners have to sign up, and so far we have not received any requests for reimbursement from the Pennington County Conservation District. So that's pretty much the highlights.
I thought that not 30, but I thought it was 50.
It was a total of 50,
Okay.
and it's over a multi-year period.
Oh, okay.
And so last year we reduced it because there was such a limited or lack of landowner sign-ups.
Okay.
We could just as easily have 50 in there, but right now it doesn't seem to make much difference. And if we do all of a sudden, have a bonanza and somebody comes in, we can make a modification to that in terms of, our expenditures. Again, this budget that we put together is, like it says on page 23, we are required to submit a 2025 budget, and it's just a guess. We know a little bit, but it's kind of a guess, because as projects come up and they may not be budgeted and we act on them, we can spend money. How did I do?
Pretty good.
Dan, is that $2,000 for the hydrology conference? It's going to be
It'll be close to that. I haven't looked at what the budget.
okay. We put 2,000 in there because that's usually what we pay. Okay.
Do you have to make any changes based upon approvals today to next year's budget?
This is our preliminary budget that'll be published in the newspapers, and then we act on it for final approval in August.
Okay.
So it sits out there, and then we solicit public comment on it, and we finalize it in August.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks. I need to know those procedures on that.
Yep.
Up to speed on that stuff.
You'll learn fast.
Oh, that's good.
So I guess with all of that information, I'll make a move to approve the draft 2025 budget as shown in the July 9th regular meeting packet.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Okay.
I will second.
Seconded by Driscoll.
I might have some comments that might change that,
Well, now it's open
Now
for
it's
discussion.
but, okay.
Motion's
I'll
open.
I'll throw out a comment that I had iterated a little bit with Ron on this, and we did a little bit of email exchange regarding it. To me it's a little bit unclear, like with the Pactola Deerfield project, why we had something in excess of 100,000, and when we'd approved only 100,000, and the reason is because that's including or accounting for the money that's coming in from reclamation, and then we turn around and put it back out. So I'll just say that all of the confusion for me was clarified, and I'm comfortable with the way the budgeting has been done.
Okay.
Okay, should I go?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Dan Mullally here. We'll take the easy one first. So should I just delete the dredging completely? I got it in there, but I got it $0, but.
Did you hear that? Dan?
It didn't come through quite clear.
He was wondering about, right now he's showing on that spreadsheet the dredging of stormwater retention pond north of the racetrack. He's got that showing in there. Should he just take that out of that spreadsheet?
I think that would be the thing to do. That was one of the discussions with Director Coth that, since the project's really conceptual, let's wait until we've got something a little firmer before we would budget for anything.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. I'll just get rid of it because it's zero
Yeah.
anyway. But okay, then kind of this is confusing. I admit, to me at least, with this matching and the BOR, what we're paying the BOR. Are we actually paying the BOR that 100,000, or do they pull that out themselves? Like, are we getting this grant and then we're,
I believe we would be paying them.
Yeah, we are paying Bureau of Reclamation. We'll have a cooperative agreement
okay,
with
so
them.
at some point, we probably need a motion to appropriate that 100,000.
Well, we're gonna need a motion anyway to approve the cooperative agreement we're gonna have to sign with them that
No,
will
we-
say we owe them this amount of
We
money.
don't have an agreement with them yet.
No, we don't.
Not yet.
Yeah, we'll
No,
have to wait.
But we will have to
We
have.
will have an agreement.
Okay,
yeah.
well, I signed something, my name's on something, that's not,
There's two things going on with the BOR, and they're confusing. One of the things is that we've signed up with the grants division of BOR. That's what all of the stuff that you went through accomplished. Now, we have, and I think Craig has started the process, we have to have a cooperative agreement with the local Bureau of Reclamation, Dakota's area office, for their work on this project. We haven't got that done yet.
that's gonna be the 100,000 going to them?
Or something like that, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's what they're figuring, about 100,000.
I'm just wondering, is that in 2025 that'll happen? Or should that be on this budget, I guess is my question.
Yes, we should put that in here.
Yeah, I guess that
We
we should have
A line item for half
a
of
line
it.
item, yeah, mhm,
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah. And put in $50,000,
Yeah.
just for a number.
Okay, so call it BOR,
Cooperative agreement,
Cooperative
Dakota's area office.
my strikeout is on here, let me fix that.
I guess we did talk about that, but it never got
Yeah.
Well,
quite in.
yeah, there's a lot of little details here that confuse things. BOR, I'm sorry, cooperative. Say that.
Cooperative agreement, Dakota's area office.
And then you could say Pactola modeling or something like that if you wanted to make sure it was not confusing. So I'm gonna
I lost my good glasses, so
That
I'm
looks good.
struggling.
I'll have to modify that motion then.
And then, what did we decide for that? 100,000?
50,000.
Okay, so just the philosophy of this whole thing, the way, there are really two pieces, the accounting of the money and then the budget. It'd be nice if they were similar, but the budget is kind of just a guess. But the way I view this is that 2/3, okay, it's 350,000 approximately. Well, I put the numbers in down here, I think. So the total project cost is about 350,000. And 25% of that we match, right?
Right.
Right.
So that's about 87,000. So we get grant income, 75% of that first number. This is income, the way I view that is this is income to our organization. And when that comes, that's where it gets confusing for the budget, like when do we get that? Because we're just doing 2025.
We get that when we submit the bills for the project.
Over time, Yeah.
So we get it a little at a time as we expend it.
okay. I just want to make sure I understand this, and then if you subtract that from that total, that's the bar number of about 250, exactly 250,000. So the way I got this really accurate WAG here is I just figured that total divided by 3, we're going to use about 1/3 of that. I just looked at the schedule and took a guess. So that's where that number comes from.
I'd suggest on your estimate there, instead of having 2/3 kind of messes you up there, but I'd just round that to the nearest 1,000. You're over $100,000, we should be able to round to the nearest 1,000.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we've just increased that by 50,000 too.
So no, that's built into
That's built into this.
this number, this 87,000.
Doesn't show up on the numbers that way. It shows up, you just built it in on the project list as an additional 50,000.
Yeah.
So it would increase the total project number by 50,000.
Okay, this is confusing. So that's the question, when you pay for this project, are we considering this a bar project, or are we considering this a Bureau of Rec project? Because the total amount that we're paying out is not going to bar. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so your estimate for that that's basically 117,000 if I round it that way, is for what bar charges, right?
No, that's the total.
Okay, then
because
we've got to skew that number like Scott says. I misunderstood that.
So
We've got to skew
subtract
that number so that
50,000.
50,000 and the other.
So if I pull 50,000 out of this, that would make it right? Is that,
We got to add 50,000 into the total project budget.
If you put 50,000 for reclamation, you'll have to reduce the number for bar by.
well, that was my question. So I can leave that 50,000 in there, but take it out from bar.
Okay, if you want to do that,
Right.
to balance it out.
So I'm going to subtract.
If you don't
50.
take it out from bar, then we're 50,000 over.
I got a question
Yeah.
on that. On the
As it
revenue
is,
side.
we're $34,000 short on
You
revenue,
got
so I think we ought to
87.5 in there.
put in a carryover from cash on hand to make the revenue balance the budget. Every budget I've ever done, you have to have a balance between your revenue and your expenditures.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Balanced budget.
Here.
Huh?
You mean have a balanced budget?
Yeah, even though we are a government entity.
You still got to balance it.
Sometimes you balance it.
You know, I mean, I would add
This
under
is
the
37,500
revenue category, just
plus
a
our match of 27.
carryover from cash on hand of $34,483.05. That'll balance our revenues with our spending.
I think we need to look at that, all that grant money is revenue.
Okay,
But this is only what we're gonna get.
getting lost, I think.
We can change that as an estimate for 2025, but we're gonna be getting it into 2026.
Because that carries over to,
You think that, I have a
Although-
feeling that's gonna be low.
Although, we may be done.
It's
by
just a
the end of
carryover from cash on hand from that
That's what I'm saying, but all that
Yeah.
revenue.
$599.
From the grant,
It's just a number
that 262,000.
that you throw in to balance it.
Maybe to make it simple, we should just put the whole number in and the whole number we expect to spend in 2025.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's what we should do.
I do.
because I called 75% of that on the income side here, on the first part of your table. I called that under grants.
Page 25, 4 you talking about?
We're not gonna get it all in 2025. Some of it's gonna come in 2024.
Yeah, on page 24, there is a line item for grant estimate.
I just have a feeling that 87,525 in 2025 is too low. Because like I say, we've got to be all done with that project by the end of 2025.
Yeah, we'll be done, but what are we gonna get in 2024? That means we're gonna get that much more of that money in 2024.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where it, because our calendar year is what the budget is based on.
right.
That's where, and you don't want to do a whole bunch of work on something that really doesn't mean a lot other than approximate, in an approximate sense, so.
He
I
figures
took
we're
a
getting this
third,
much money in
I took
2024
75%
from the Bureau.
Oh, okay,
and then the rest of it's in 2025.
okay. That
So it's
answers-
front-end loaded.
okay, that answers it,
It's front-end loaded in '24 because of all the work that's gonna be done
okay,
for survey and modeling.
all right, that answers my question, I thought we'd.
Yeah, and
we'd have more in
that's what makes
2025.
these numbers not really that accurate, because, for example, I already put in, I got a check for 25,000. That came in after this, so that doesn't even show up as cash on hand. And we're gonna get more for 2024, which affects the proposed means of finance side, but it doesn't affect the budget at all,
You're
so.
right, we'd have to spend the hard part, point out, you're right.
I guess I need a little guidance as to how much we want to tweak this
It is
thing.
confusing.
I subtracted off the 50,000.
If we have all of the pieces and parts identified, if the numbers aren't just exactly right, I'm not sure I'm gonna worry about it.
Yeah, and they won't, it's impossible.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah,
get
I-
the numbers right,
yeah.
but you can get the intent there.
It's an estimate.
Exactly.
We don't know how much work will actually be done.
I
That's
think-
why we
I think
approved that liability.
I think what's showing here is
insurance
fine.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that. So let me get back to, did we want to modify that motion?
Let's make the motion modified, I guess, if it's okay with my seconder, to reflect this recent addition of a line item for the Bureau and a reduction in the line item for the bar contract expenditure.
Yeah,
I think that's all we did.
yeah, that's what we
Okay, let me
need to do.
try to word this in a way that,
So we approve the budget as shown with modifications to the project budgets for bar and for an addition on Bureau of Reclamation, Dakota's area office.
Okay.
Just area, Dakota's area office.
sounds like,
There's two Dakotas, one area.
sounds like Driscoll's mic is on.
Probably ordering a cold
He's
beverage.
probably got a cold beverage there.
Probably is.
With some-
I would never do that, but
He's probably
I
drinking
think
it.
I think I seconded it, and I'm okay with the changes.
Okay,
Well, I think there's one more we need to make, and that's to put into the revenue, a carry in from cash on hand of 34,000, 483.05, so our revenue balances our expenditures.
Okay, let me finish this. Who made this motion? Coth?
Yeah,
both did,
I tried.
And who seconded?
Craig did.
Okay, so we'll modify this as needed, but motion by Coth, seconded by Care to approve budget as presented with the modifications to project budgets for BAR and BOR Dakota's area office. And then there was Director McGregor, did you have a,
Yes, and to include a line item in the revenue of $34,483.05 carried in from cash on hand.
okay, I don't understand where that number comes from, but
Huh?
I can put
It comes from deducting 377,275 from 411,758.05, so that both total revenue and total expenditures end up being 411,758.05.
So is that total expenditures based on, in the packet, or what we now
No,
have?
it's based on what you've got here.
Okay, because we,
I mean, what you show here is total expenditures of 411,000, but you only show total revenue of 377,000. So you've got to be able to balance your revenue and your expenditures, so we get that other money, of the cash that we have on hand that's unobligated.
431. Where's this 411?
Yeah, where do you see that?
I see 431.
It's the last number right above the green.
It's 431.
That's
431.
No, the 411-75805.
That's 431.
That's
431.
Ah, he's got something different.
Did you get
The older version.
Oh, you,
He's got the old version.
sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's why we're
John,
like,
Then
what are you
that-
talking
Then
about?
those numbers
Yeah.
need to be adjusted again, I'll put another 20,000.
Okay. By the way, if you look on all my documents, I put the document name and the version number, so it's supposed to be a D. Sorry about that.
I was like, what are you looking at?
Are we ready to
You're
vote?
making stuff up.
I'm wondering if we can pass this motion and then you can talk to me afterwards so we can fix that,
Okay.
because I don't understand it.
That's still the same.
We're gonna have to vote on it, the final one, in a month.
Is it?
So your motion.
We have to publicize this, yeah.
431.
So I
Add
put
an amount for
58.
cash on hand to balance the budget. And you'll have to,
So I put
Insert the
with
amount.
adjustments to cash on hand.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, that's just another 20K. So it's 54.
well, that should be the new stuff, yeah.
Because the cash on hand is already $25,000 off, just from that check I deposited, so that's why I'm,
Don't tell us about that, tell us about that at our next meeting.
Next meeting.
That's right.
Burn
That's
daylight.
2024 money incoming.
I mean, the amount of cash on hand doesn't matter. It's just the amount we have to transfer into the budget to balance revenues and expenditures. So I don't care how much we have on hand, as long as we have enough to cover the expenditures, which we do. So with that 431 number, the amount you need to transfer in is 54,483.05.
Okay, this one didn't have it in.
into the total budget number.
This one, this one is.
All right, are we ready to vote?
I'm not comfortable yet.
What?
Yeah, and then he tweaked it.
Oh,
Got back to that. I know.
We're gonna have another look at this in a month.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you gotta publish it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay,
that's right.
I'm really struggling with how to word this last part. I've got motion by Cole, seconded by Kara to approve budget as presented with modifications to project budgets for BAR and BOR Dakota's area office with adjustments to the total 2025 line budget. That's the 431,000.
Well, that doesn't affect that at all, because you're adding 50, but you're taking 50 away from something that's already there. So the bottom line number stays the same.
Okay, so how do I word this?
I don't think you need to get into that detail in this motion. As presented, so it's presented here, so that's what we're voting on.
Okay, I'm fine, I'm just,
That looks good.
Yeah, just leave it right there.
That's fine.
Okay, everybody clear now?
Well, I still think you need to put that other revenue in.
So you just want to say with adjustments to revenue to balance?
You can do it that way. With transfers in from cash on hand.
Adjustments of revenue to balance.
Well,
Balance the,
I'll put it in, I
expenditure
don't-
with the revenue.
Or
I
additional?
mean, to me,
Adjustments
things
to
never
cash.
balance, but
Any good budget.
we
balance.
used to have this unobligated project category that we
Look,
would,
the bottom line is this is a meaningless budget. We only do it to satisfy the state. We
yeah,
never adhere to it.
and the public, you
It
know.
never becomes actually meaningful in terms of what we really do in the year. We just need to show the state that we put some thought into it, so
Well, I will say, in my tenure with West Dakota Water, I did get a phone call from one individual, like 3 years in a row, on the budget.
Yeah.
So some people do look at it.
This is just to ensure that Thomas, now that he has signature authority, doesn't walk away with money.
I actually get calls on it occasionally.
Yeah, some people do look at it. Are we ready to vote now?
I am.
Okay. Yep. I think we've had enough discussion. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thank you for all your work. Item 15, chair's comments, I don't have any. Are there any directors that have items? Seeing none?
I'll comment that I regret I couldn't be there today to meet Mark Klein, but I appreciate his initiative in attending and seeing how we work.
Very good, well said. Items from admin, number 17.
Okay. Well, I discussed this with the executive board the other day, and I think it's time, this job has really entailed a lot more than I thought it would be when I signed that contract. And I'm thinking that the match between, what I'm able to contribute with hours and the Water Development District's requirements, I don't think I could really do a very good job at this point. It's taken a lot of time. I guess the bottom line is I think it's probably time to start looking for somebody else to take this position. And I did sign a contract, and so I'll fulfill that to the best of my ability, but I'm thinking maybe early next year we'll have new directors in and where this organization is going. And like I said, the amount of time it took for this government grant and some upcoming things is probably more than I can really. It's not a matter of money, it's more a matter of my time, and I'm not getting any younger, so I will leave it at that for now and let people ponder how you want to approach that. The West Dakota Water Development District has been really good to me. It allowed me to work close to school of mines when I was teaching there. I could go back and forth. So I have no huge complaints about it, but it's kind of turned into something I'd never really, when I signed that contract, I was more assuming the status quo, and that's not the case right now. So I appreciate the good years I had with the organization. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any items from the public? Doesn't look like it. Barry, you got anything?
Nope, not really.
Okay. All right. What time is it? 4:03. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, that's early.
Dan? Yeah, where's the money? Where's the check? Show me the money. Scott?
Where'd the ball?